How fast a chemical reaction occurs is represented by rate of chemical reaction. In every chemical reaction, actually what happens? Reactant takes part in the chemical reaction and product forms. In this process, when reaction starts, then concentration of reactant goes on decreasing and concentration of product goes on increasing. We can take example, just for example, if reactants are altogether 10 gram and they are taking part in the chemical reaction, then the mass of this 10 gram goes on decreasing. It becomes 9 gram, 8 gram, 7 gram, 6 gram, and lastly it becomes 0. But at the same time, the product goes on increasing, 1 gram, 2 gram, 3 gram. In this way, we can say that concentration of reactant goes on decreasing and concentration of product goes on increasing in any chemical reaction. That's why the rate of chemical reaction is defined as the change of concentration of reactant or product in unit time. This rate of change of reaction is affected by different factors. Now I am going to present different factors which affects the rate of chemical reaction. Look at the factors. Heat, light and electricity. Firstly, I am talking about heat, light and electricity. Now theoretically, what happens when reactants are heated? Then their molecule begin to vibrate more rapidly. Because of rapid vibration, the force of collision of the molecules and the number of collision of the molecules increases. Because of this reason, the reaction becomes faster. Just for example, when potassium chlorate is taken in a test tube and is heated, then the molecule of the potassium chlorate begin to vibrate more faster, and because of this fast motion, the number of collision of the potassium chlorate becomes more, and number of collision and force of collision becomes more, and it decomposes into potassium chloride and oxygen gas. Can be balanced. This equation can be balanced. Here if we put 2, here it is 3, then 3 2 is 6, 3 2 is 6, oxygen balanced, chlorine 2, and potassium 2. This is one of the example of the factor heat which affects the rate of chemical reaction. Now let's talk about second factor, light. There are many compounds which are affected by light. Just for example, when light falls on silver bromide, then the molecule of the silver bromide becomes more active and it begins to vibrate and it decomposes into silver and bromine. This is another example which is related with light. Light brings the chemical change faster. Now next, electricity, another factors. How electricity changes the rate of chemical reaction? Look at this diagram. This is very short representation of electrolysis of water. You have seen in lower classes also. Here acidulated water is taken. Few drops of sulfuric acid is added in water, and this acidulated water, cells are used to supply current, and this metal plate is connected to positive terminal of cell. That's why it becomes positively charged, and this becomes negatively charged. This is anode, this is cathode. Now because of this two pole, positive and negative, this anode attracts anion, cathode attracts cation, and because of this attraction force, this water decomposes into hydrogen and oxygen gas. Thus, electricity is one of the factors which affects the chemical reaction. And look at this, electricity, water, when electrolysis, this process is called electrolysis. When water is supplied with current, then it decomposes into hydrogen and oxygen gas. This way electrolysis occurs. Now another factor is catalyst. Catalyst is one of the factors which affects the rate of chemical reaction. What is catalyst? We can define catalyst this way: the chemical substance which changes the rate of chemical reaction. Most of the time we use catalyst to increase the rate of chemical reaction in laboratory, in other sector also, but in few cases we are using catalyst to decrease the rate of chemical reaction also. Just for example, Look at this first reaction. Potassium chlorate is heated and it is decomposed into potassium chloride and oxygen. This reaction occurs at 360 degrees Celsius. But the same reaction occurs at low temperature of about 240 degrees Celsius if manganese dioxide, a substance used in this reaction, because of presence of manganese dioxide, potassium chlorate decomposes at low temperature to form potassium chloride and oxygen gas. Now, there is another example also. Sometimes catalyst is used to decrease the rate of chemical reaction. Just for example, hydrogen peroxide, which decomposes into water and oxygen. This rate of decomposition can be decreased by using glycerin. If glycerin is used in hydrogen peroxide, then it will decompose very slow into water and oxygen gas. Now this is about the catalyst. But catalyst is divided into two types. One is called positive catalyst, another is called negative catalyst. I told you about both of them. A catalyst which is used to increase the rate of chemical reaction is called positive catalyst. Just for example, potassium chlorate is decomposed by using positive catalyst manganese dioxide, which decomposes the potassium chlorate at low temperature. But negative catalyst is used to decrease the rate of chemical reaction, which is used to slow down the rate of chemical reaction of hydrogen peroxide. I told you about heat, light and electricity, how they are used to affect the rate of chemical reaction. I told you about catalyst also.